Hey guys, and welcome to part 2 to What If Female Naruto had Ice release. If you want to know what happened in the last part, then there'll be a link in the description down below, or you can watch this one all the way through until the end, where then there'll be a sort of link on the screen. With that, let's get into this. So, somewhat about, only some months would go by as somewhat Kakashi once they'd got so after the 1 week break of pretty much no training and that, they somewhat would go Kakashi would somewhat start to really somewhat kind of more so train them as so realised that they would have, if it wasn't for Aku's somewhat mercy and that, then his team would have been dead pretty much. And that was more, he'd once he kind of really realised that he realised that he had to, he couldn't keep up, he couldn't keep the, somewhat routine of just somewhat, kind of waiting for Sasuke and Sakura to ask him, that he now have to pretty much, actively force, actively train them. So that's what someone he'd, do through those somewhat months. And something else they would also do was somewhat Kakashi, or at least after about 3 weeks, would go to Hizen to ask for a C rank. Somewhat to try and get that first C rank, to which they would get. And so after, getting a C rank, of course they would complete it and they would return. They'd do some more training before they would go, and Kakashi would ask for another C, to which they would do, and they would perceive to be bumped up to a B rank. Kakashi would be slightly, annoyed for having a, mission bumped up, but oh well. And still they would complete it, they would return, and they would go back to their training, and then they would, ask for they would ask for a C rank, because they would get one. And yeah, and of course, and then when they'd complete it, of course, train again, then they'd ask for a C rank again, and they would get a C rank, to which would wind up a B rank, and it'd be pretty much every other every other mission they get would be pretty much a B rank, so it'd be C, then B, then C, then B. And yeah, Kakashi had somewhat, by the second time he got, a really second B rank, he was just somewhat, or at least by the time they got their third B rank, he'd kind of just somewhat accepted that they somehow, got wound up with, some of those just missions. And yeah, also, or at least somewhat, though, Kakashi would have them somewhat on this, or at least on that third B rank, to just have Sasuke, Sakura now to have their first kills, to which they would, and of course, Kakashi would sort of tell them that, somewhat that killing was always, an option, but it was the last option. And that unless they started enjoying killing, that it's, they find it fun to kill other people, and that was when they would become monsters, pretty much demons, to say. And yeah, of course, neither of them liked it, but they accepted that, it was a part of, it was what they were, to do. It was in their job description to kill. They were shinobi after all. And time would pass, and eventually Kakashi would, of course, somewhat, or at least would tell them to, meet up on the bridge, to which, of course, prior to that, they, well, at least somewhat, of course, Naruto, Sakura, and Haku would sort of be kind of spend a bit of time together when Kanhamaru and Kanhamaru would somewhat make a bit of fun about, at least about Sakura, and similarly a large forehead, and that to which of course would lead to him running into the Sand siblings, and pretty much that whole ordeal happening, just Haku being there to observe. And yeah. Wait, though, of course, though they would, go to the bridge where they were meant to meet up with Kakashi, and once he'd arrive, he'd give them, he'd tell them that he'd put them up for, the tuning exams. And that'd be in a week, so they wouldn't be, getting any training or that. And yeah, so of course, a week could go by, and they'd all arrive outside of the school. They would of course enter, and Sasuke, who of course wanted to somewhat show off, would do so, revealing that it was that they were simply only on the second floor, and that which Naruto and Haku would somewhat just grown as they could have had a somewhat slightly easier time, but he just had to go and run his mouth. And yeah, of course, Saizum, somewhat, up until where you'd end up, accepting similarly, somewhat Lee's, fight, to which he'd be, of course, humiliated. That. And yeah. So pretty much the first part of the training exams would go pretty much like similar to canon. Naruto would end up writing, would write down all the answers by just using a rice. So pretty much have them become, like mirrors, get them shiny enough to pretty much look like mirrors. And yeah. Besides that, the second part would be where it somewhat changed a lot, as they would somewhat, once they would enter the second part of the training exams, once they would enter the forest of death, Sasuke would turn around and would proceed to give Naruto that scroll, saying that should be the kind of best one to somewhat kind of keep it safe, as during the months, of course, somewhat Haku, Haku, Naruto knew the same jutsus that Haku knew in Ice Release. And so that and Naruto's ice was just a lot more dense, it was stronger. Yeah, because for one, it was clear, any time Naruto made ice, it was always clear. And so when she did ice jutsu, it always had that density look, in other words, blue. So what look always seemed to blue. And yeah, whereas Haku's somewhat at the best he could do would be kind of a clear, slight bluish tint to it. And that, somewhat took time to do, whereas his somewhat normal one would look a bit on the cloudy side. And, yeah. Anyway, though, yeah, so from there, though, somewhat a few seconds, or at least about a few seconds to a minute after that or so, that would similarly end up kind of like, go to a toilet. And so after, similarly doing so, we'd proceed to drag a person out. Because, go to the toilet, she wouldn't just notice someone who was following them. And yeah, after this, dragging the person out. And Sasuke putting the person under a genjutsu would somewhat end up having the person, drag them back to their team. And from there, because they would knock the person out, Kakashi would transform into that person. Not Kakashi, Sasuke would transform into the person and would go and would put the other two teammates under Genjutsu as well, to which one of them would give him the scroll they needed. Ironically, they would have the scroll they needed, and they would then sort of knock them out, and from there they would then go running to the rough direction, somewhat to, the tower. And after about a few seconds, after about like 10-15 seconds, Naruto would sort of stop as he'd realise, something to which they would as well. They would be confused. They would sort of look at her as they'd perceive to run all about the tree and perceive to similarly, blast, off the tree upwards. They'd be confused, and Sasuke would end up sort of realising what she was kind of planning to do with, because sometimes he'd know Naruto was the fastest when it came to doing the Senshin and that, and with the distance to cover, it would just be better to use the Senshin. And if of course, if she could see it, then she could Senshin over to it. It would just be a lot faster. They could get it done, this out, done and out of the way. And a few seconds later, of course, it'd somewhat come down, and Sakura would somewhat claim that they had to get to the tower preferably before nightfall, to which otherwise would simply stay whilst would she perceive to launch herself off the top of the tree. Other than that, Sakura would be kind of confused, though Sasuke would just somewhat walk up and would put his hands on Naruto. Haku, as Naruto came in for landing, it clicked for Haku what Naruto was doing, so someone would put a hand on Naruto as well, and before somewhat early Sakura would be kind of confused, though son Haku would just put his hand on Sakura's as well, on Sakura's shoulder, as Naruto would perceive to send them over to the tower. And from there they would perceive to walk in, and about 5 or so seconds later the Sand siblings would end up walking into the tower. Anyway, though, once they would end, after a bit of talking, about 3 seconds later, they would throw open the scrolls, which would summon Iruka, and after after kind of congratulating them for arriving and that, and would perceive to kind of show them somewhat where they were staying, as well as somewhat what the message on the board was, at least somewhat what was not up there, that had been simply lost to time or whatever. And anyway, though, after that they would though he would sort of tell them that that sense would probably be arrive a few seconds to a minute or so after, should sort of be here soon. And lo and behold, about 5 or so minutes later, Kakashi would arrive. So somewhat Haku, of course, would open the door, but wouldn't let Kakashi in, as it could be an imposter. And so Kakashi would end up saying somewhat the somewhat secret word or phrase, which would somewhat annoy Sakura, but nevertheless Haku would move aside. Kakashi would sort of enter and would congratulate them again for at least not only somewhat for getting through the force of death, but also for breaking the record. They would somewhat be surprised at that, and he would tell them what the previous record was, and that if they were 5 seconds late, if they were like 6 seconds later, they somewhat the or at least 3 shinobi from the land of from Suna would have taken the record. And they'd somewhat nod at that, and anyway, though, somewhat from there, 2 days would pass as somewhat, of course, the fights would go similar to canon. Sasuke would easily beat his opponent, Sakura would beat Ino, but would end up asking Hiruzen if she could, forfeit out of the somewhat out of the training exams because she knew she was backwards. She may be somewhat strong, and that while she could, manipulate fire and do fire jutsu, she didn't believe she wasn't strong enough yet. Though after Hiruzen would, somewhat make sure that it was what she wanted to do, it would somewhat would somewhat have a name, or at least would somewhat do so. She wouldn't be in the final part of the training exams. And yeah, though from there, of course, somewhat somewhat in canon. Oh, what's his name? Kabuto. He'd somewhat he left because he'd gotten the information that what's his name? Orochimaru wanted, but because Orochimaru hadn't, they hadn't managed to find, Team 7, so they would end up going up against Hakuto, which would somewhat beat him with just using wind manipulation and that. And yeah. Aside from that, somewhat the other fights would go as somewhat, in canon up until Naruto's fight with Kiba, to which would pretty much, Kiba would, line his mouth like he would in canon, and, so would his, sensei, Kunai would say, what she would in, canon, that, Naruto, who was the dead last, did stand a chance, all that. And, yeah. Team 7, on the other hand, knew very much differently that she was out of the 3 of them, or 4 of them, because ignoring Kakashi, she was the fastest. And yes, she could outrun most, somewhat Armbu. And as such, she only really needed somewhat some help in her taiju, or at least into somewhat translating her high physical and somewhat have high, physical and speed into kind of somewhat getting her, reaction time to that level. So she could use her high, physical speed to, fight as well. And yeah, so of course, Kiba would tell, Akuma to stay out and you do, Fang. Straight towards, Naruto, to which would just stand there waiting for Kiba. And so once Kiba was close enough, she'd perceive to just would perceive to just somewhat kick Kiba somewhat in the face. Somewhat hard enough that he would perceive to just go straight out of control and somewhat into a wall, and immediately knocking him out, which would, of course, somewhat Magnin would run out the Proctor would declare Naruto the winner via knockout, and yeah, the fight didn't take all that long, and yeah, she pretty much showed that she was just extremely strong and fast, and also had high a high reaction time, all that. Yeah, just that she's fast and strong. And yeah, because they, you could believe that the so-called dead last was that strong. And yeah, from there, pursuit would return up, and the other fights would go like in canon, which would leave Kakashi in a bit of a kind of pickle, as he had 3 genin to similarly teach, as Haku was, or Hiruzen had, marked Haku down as, a genin. And yeah, mainly because some of the training exams were pretty much just around the corner. And yeah. And yeah, though from there, somewhat they would, I knew they'd be, fighting against. Which, like in canon, Naruto would go up against, what's the Neji, Sasuke against Gaara, and Haku would go against, the one of the people that that Shikamaru had to, fight again against. And, yeah. Anyway, though, from there, someone won't Simon would sort of leave and that because Team Simon would slightly sort of leave. Though Haku would say, always would sort of say to Kakashi that she didn't necessarily that he didn't necessarily need any training, that he actually sort of planned on potentially somewhat learning some medical some medical ninjutsu, and that just Kakashi would he'd just somewhat just nod and he'd say that he'd find a medic nin for him. Just I could nod and thanks, which kind of put some pressure off sort of himself, as it meant that he just had to find a sensei for Naruto as he is. And yeah, I just somewhat to of course with Sasuke going up against Gaara, he would end up he'd still teach Sasuke the Chidori, but anyway, he would end up going to Hiruzen, whom would suggest, Jiraiya, and would tell him that sort of Jiraiya was, which, of course, the next day, Kakashi would introduce, somewhat them to their, Naruto and Haku, to their, seemingly senseis for the month. Yeah. Though someone once, though Kakashi would somewhat kind of signal to Naruto that Rai didn't know that she had actually, that he only knew she had water and wind manipulation, water and wind, a water and wind affinity, and not ice. And anyway, though, once Kakashi though Kakashi would also hand all his would somewhat hand her a scroll and tell her to somewhat learn somewhat to learn the jutsu in her kind of spare time, to which she'd state she would. And, yeah. Anyway, though Kakashi and Sasuke would leave, and so would Haku with said somewhat medic nin, which they'd leave, and once they'd leave the training ground, Jiraiya would go, so you've got somewhat a wind and water affinity, huh? To which you'd just nod and you'd go, well, do you know about or at least do you know that you possess a second chakra nature, a chakra, some chakra, to which someone would somewhat go, you mean the first chakra? And before you even speak, no, I'm not going to use it. Konoha has never had to use the 9,000 chakra, and I'm not going to start using it now. I'm going to get stronger with my own chakra. But I don't give a damn about it. I could give a damn why the fourth sealed inside of me. You just did. You chose me to, for whatever reason. And yeah. And I'm going to use my own chakra to get stronger. I'm not going to rely on somebody else's sort of chakra to simply get stronger. Yeah, and Jiraiya trying to argue that, and Naruto would end up just storming off. Telling that if he, wasn't going to, Anyway, so nevertheless, the argument would leave Jiraiya unable to simply speak all that as, and even somewhat a bit hurting in that, though Though you just think that she's, going through similarly maybe like a phase and that in, a day or two she'd be coming back, but no, she never would come back, go to Jiraiya. As she'd somewhat just kind of going, she'd sort of after kind of calming down a bit. That she's so mad that, once she'd gotten away, or at least some distance away from Jiraiya, and she started to really let her anger just out. Pretty much just walking caused sort of ice to form on the ground. And yeah. Anyway, though, as I said, somewhat though eventually she'd calm down, she'd end up reading the scroll that Kakashi had given her, which would be for the Rasengan. And yeah, and it'd have, somewhat how it was done, the first stab, the second and third, as well as somewhat, how to rotate, how to tell which, way your chakra naturally rotates. And yeah, and so it would take her all but 2 days to pop the water balloon, and then about 5 days to pop the rubber balloon, and then 2 weeks to not pop the water balloon full of air, and how only simply 2 weeks from after popping the rubber ball. Quite simple. She used a shadow clone. Yeah. Though of course, so, and yeah. Though the wrestler, about 2 to 3 days prior to the, at least, with about 2 to 3 days left until the final part of the training exams, Naruto would be able to form the Rasengan with just a hand, without relying on the shadow clone. And so, with those 2 to 3 days left, she would just, keep on doing Rasengan to shrink down the time in that required to form it. And yeah. Though from there they would all end up arriving in front of the training exam site, stadium arena, a few, good few minutes early. Yeah, Kakashi would ask how that training went, which Naruto would look pretty much directly at him and would seemingly walk over to him before anyone could, somewhat, say how that training went, or more so, Haku. Naruto would proceed to, grab Kakashi and proceed to simply drag him kind of somewhat away for a private conversation. A minute or two later, and they would appear with Kakashi having a few bruises and a black eye. They would just somewhat stare at him and kind of Naruto in somewhat confusion. And yeah, though they could see that Kakashi looked Kakashi looked pissed and Naruto looked downright mad. And yeah, Haku will go over and would start to slowly heal, Kakashi up. She'd somewhat, thank Haku for that. And though of course Sakura would kind of ask if they were okay, to which Naruto would simply somewhat, or at least somewhat, Sakura would, kind of sort of ask Naruto what she'd kind of learned or that. To which she'd simply say, or at least somewhat, would say somewhat, how do you, or at least somewhat, how do you like to do similarly, be assigned a sensei who's just downright pervert? Sakura would kind of stare at her in a bit of confusion, which Kakashi would somewhat quietly say, somewhat a bit more. And once there weren't really anyone around them, he didn't want to run the risk of, anyone overhearing them. And yeah, as Naruto had told the team and the entire team, that including Haku, about just, having the 9,000 Sanfo, so they did know that. And yeah, they suddenly they somewhat suddenly believe someone try and force her to learn the fox to learn how to control the fox chakra. And yeah, not only that, but it seemed that that was the only thing he seemed to want to teach her, and that he hasn't even bothered to somewhat go to her and sort of seemingly kind of apologize for somewhat that, and being kind of heavily focused on having to learn how to control the fox chakra, and not teaching her maybe some water or wind or something else like that. Yeah. Anyway, though, Haku would say, well, yeah. Though Haku would say what she'd kind of learned. And that, and a few minutes later, of course, the proctor would come out to have them, line up, and they would enter. And yeah, the sort of Haku managed to heal most of the injuries, besides on kind of the black eye, which was still there. It wasn't as bad as it was. But yeah. Anyway, though, nevertheless, they would sort of enter, and somewhat he'd quite to get everyone's attention, and would obviously say what he'd kind of say in canon, and would then sort of ask them if Naruto, and or at least would show them the similarly new kind of fighting order, to which Sasuke realized that he was now similarly the second to last to fight against Gaara. And that Shikamaru now simply had to fight twice. And yeah. Anyway, though, besides from sort of that, from there, they would sort of nod, and they would from there go and at least somewhat to tell them if only would sort of tell the some others to go up and for Naruto and what's his name, Neji, to stay behind. Yeah, of course, Neji would start, he'd start his, fate stuff that, it's his, someone he was fated to win and that, and yeah, after, a few seconds, he'd simply tell him to shut up, and if you, could let the proctor start the damn fight. And, yeah. Once the proctor simply, started it, he'd proceed to run off again, about fate again. So it's eventually she just, go straight and, would just throw a kunai, which would, he'd narrowly, sort of just dodge. So she'd send a glare. So at her and would proceed to, go to try and, sort of run at her, though she'd jump back. And yeah, so the fighting would begin. And well, yeah, as the seconds return into minutes, Naruto would simply keep on, dodging. Keep on dodging Neji, as Neji would, try and, go and get, hit her chakra points. Though she just wasn't letting him. And yeah, though after a while she'd jump back far enough to perform sort of a jutsu and sort of a, wind jutsu. Wind style sort of great breakthrough to, sort of push him back even further. And from there, kind of somewhat throw a few more kunai, or at least kunais at him, to which he'd eventually somewhat be forced to do the rotation, and seeing that and realizing that he could pretty much try and use the Rasengan on that, would then simply charge, would throw some more kunai and would charge in. You'd see that, and you'd decide to keep the rotation up. presumably idiotic. Because you'd see that and would realise what she was potentially planning on trying to do. And she'd hold out her hand, and lo and behold, the blue ball of the Rasengan would form. And she'd shout out as the Rasengan would clash with the rotation of the Hyuga clan. She'd shout out Rasengan, to which Hyuga couldn't believe his eyes that Naruto had learned Rasengan in a month. Now, a jutsu is as complex as the Rasengan is. She'd got it down in a month. And yeah. Anyway, though she'd got so much, she'd, put more chakra into the Rasengan, making it spin faster. And of course, which would, force it to expand, which would force it to, she'd put more, of course, as she sent more chakra into it, it'd speed up, and as well as she'd keep it, compressed. So it's just spinning faster and faster and faster and getting denser and denser. Until a point of where somewhat Neji's rotation would finally get too fast for him, as some of the chakra he'd perceived to get chakra burn on his hands and sort of just body that. As somewhat the pretty much chakra was starting to straight up rip, around his body, leaving kind of somewhat seemingly burn marks, and it'd cause from there somewhat the pain it'd cause him to, at least the rotation to, somewhat fall. And yeah, he would, and she'd throw the Rasengan up, somewhat just up. She'd charge in, they'd see the Rasengan just rapidly expand, rapidly expand and blow. As she'd perceived to just cut back her fist and whack him hard enough to force him somewhat in, kind of would force him, somewhat, kind of, flying back and into the ground. And yeah. And though just as somewhat he'd get his balance again, he'd feel the cold steel of a kunai pressed against his neck as the proctor would come over and would proceed to declare Naruto as the winner. And as you couldn't believe it, he lost. And yeah, from there, the crowd couldn't simply believe it, as well. That should be a Hyuga. It was, simply impossible odds, but yes, she did. And so from there, Naruto would return up to the fighting box and that, and the next person would be called down and all that. Yeah, anyway, though, the fights would go pretty much somewhat like in canon. Yeah, as of course, Haku's one was, the last fight, and Sasuke's was the second to last, so Sasuke's one would come up next, to which would wind up being pretty much the same as in canon, with Sasuke trying to kill, Gaara with a lightning jutsu, to which wouldn't really, the Chidori, which wouldn't work and would, signal the start of the sound invasion of Konoha. And of course, from there, Sasuke would go after Gaara and the, similarly his, the Sand siblings. And yeah. After, of course, the, some others would be purchasing on the Genjutsu, though Haku would somewhat, break out of it and would, or at least would manage to dispel it and would manage to catch Naruto just before she could fall and would release the Genjutsu over her. Yeah, they would talk about potentially somewhat what to do when Sakura would arrive with Pakun, and would tell them that they would have to, or at least to go and aid Sasuke. They would nod, and from there they of course somewhat would. And yeah, of course, a few seconds to a body wire, though something just like similar, in canon, or at least. Well, not really Shikamaru, though instead someone Haku would, or at least would inform that they'd been fight, that they had people following them, and to tell them to tell Naruto and Sakura to go forward, and actually it got them. They'd look at her and ask if she saw to it. She'd nod and state that she'd pretty much will just kill them and catch up to them, to which they would nod. They would run forward, and they would arrive, and they would they would underestimate her, to which Sakura would very much utilize to form some the crystal ice mirrors, and in all but a few seconds they would all be dead, and she would she would end up arriving. She'd somewhat end up arriving, and would try and do her best to help simply Naruto fight against Gaara. More or less somewhat Naruto, Sasuke and kind of Sakura fight against Gaara. And after somewhat a while, Gaara would eventually let Shikaku out, and they would all kind of just somewhat Sakura, Sasuke, and somewhat Haku would just start at it and kind of at Naruto, what the hell, they couldn't find that. And that seeing that would somewhat kind of gone, and she'd wonder how to do, but she'd sort of start thinking and would wonder. So she didn't necessarily want to kill Gaara, but she wondered if she could potentially, maybe freeze it. And she'd, somewhat kind of tell Haku, a plan of potentially trying to kind of get it, frozen enough that she could, run up that or run up it or that, to potentially try and wake up Gaara, and that if Gaara going to sleep brought it out, Gaara waking up should simply put it back. And she'd sort of nod, and they would proceed to go and try and somewhat freeze the Shikaku of all things. And of course Shikaku would be wouldn't necessarily wouldn't let them get close, but they didn't necessarily need to get close. And though something started to feel similarly, or at least like it was starting to get harder to move, you'd realise you'd somewhat realise that they were trying to freeze him, and he would try and of course get his push the ice away, but and though eventually somewhat, or at least Shikaku would seemingly be so almost occupied into getting rid of the ice that somewhat he wouldn't realise as somewhat ice would seemingly form somewhat on his forehead, or at least where Gaara seemingly was, in front of Gaara, as there'd be one that would seemingly form somewhat behind Naruto, to which he would seemingly sink in and would perceive to somewhat at that speed, like shoot off into the other mirror, come out knocking whacking a fist into Gaara, waking him up, confused, and Shikaku shouting out that he just got out. And from there somewhat they'd go down. Naruto would end up telling Gaara what she kind of Naruto did, and Kankuro and Maru would arrive and would take Gaara away, and they Naruto, the four of them would then return to Konoha to try and aid, to which they would end up finding out a few seconds, or at least just as they would arrive into Konoha, that the fourth Hokage had died. And not the fourth, the third Hokage had died. And yeah, of course, 3 days later, the funeral would happen. And of course, so from there, a day later, what's his name? Can't remember his name now. Oh yeah, Dry would approach Naruto with, trying to convince her to go, with him to go get, Tsunade or that, which he wouldn't really be having it, but he'd try and, convince that he'd, teach her, jutsu and that, and, when the fourth Kage created. And she'd just hold out her hand and not go this, to which she'd be dumbstruck, surprised. And the fact she seemingly knew how to do the Rasengan. And yeah, then he'd just, somewhat offer her, or at least the ability to summon Toads, which she'd go, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. And yeah, you'd try, but yeah. Yeah, and she wasn't having it, though Kakashi would, or at least though would come as new, convince Naruto to nonetheless, go with him, because, or at least to, at least go with him to, go get the, Hokage, and that, that could be the last, and he'd somewhat pretty much had that, for all intents and purposes, that could be the last time she ever see, pretty much has to, be with him. So someone grumble, and those who would not ask if kind of at least, another person could come with, to which Dry would ask who, to which she'd simply, or at least someone would ask, kind of Haku, mainly as, Haku is down there, a sort of ice person, and thus, at the very least, they could, sort of try and, or at least somewhat carry on from, their training from Kakashi to, which was to somewhat try and kind of somewhat synchronize that chakra together, so they could, somewhat unite their kind of ice abilities together to make one giant, sort of, ice jutsu, a combination. Yeah. And yeah, of course, Dry, would somewhat kind of be a bit hesitant, but he would nevertheless somewhat agree. Well, at least would stay, fine, because, he's still, and yeah. And yeah, this is where I'm going to end this part here, guys. So if you haven't enjoyed this part, do tell me in the comments down below. And yeah, guys, hope you guys have a good day or night, depending on wherever you are and whenever you watch this. And good bye.